Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be going over my top 5 best bets for Divisional Round weekend. Last week, we went 3-2. Sadly, the Cleveland Browns ended up looking not so good. The defense got plowed, and Joe Flacco looked like he was halfway into a retirement home, and then the Dolphins sold me up a river, my own favorite team. It wasn't even close. Like, it felt kind of close at points, but the Dolphins offense just inept in that one. But, 3-2 last week, solid. Not the best, obviously. We're looking for 5-0, but solid. This week, we're to go that illustrious 5-0. If you guys do end up enjoying today's video, please make sure you hit that subscribe button down below while you're down there. Whether you are new to the channel or not, make sure you guys leave a like on today's video. It would help me out a ton. So without further ado, let's get into my Divisional Round best bets. We begin with my first best bet of the Divisional Round with Amon-Ra St. over 91.5 receiving yards versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at home in Detroit. This is currently set at -115 on DraftKings. The number is set 1 yard lower on Underdog at 90.5, which I like even better. Over the last 5 games, Amon-Ra St. has hit the over on receiving yards set at 91.5 in 4 games. The other game in which he did not eclipse 91.5 receiving yards would have been up against the Cowboys a couple of weeks ago in Dallas, where he had 90 yards. So even when Amon-Ra St. missed, it was by just the tip, right? He just barely missed in that game. During that stretch of 5 games, the Sun God has had 8 or more targets in every single game. While I get the Buccaneers defense definitely looked good up against the Philadelphia Eagles on Monday Night Football in the wild card round, I think that was more based upon the fact that the Eagles offense has been sucking more cock than a porn star recently, and they didn't really look great there either. Again, I am not going to stiff arm push aside the notion that the Buccaneers defense played solid, but I don't think the Buccaneers by any means have some sort of elite defense. This is a game set at the second highest total of divisional weekend at 48.5. So I, as well as the sports books, think that this is going to be a higher scoring game, even further pushing me towards believing in Amon-Ra St. going over 91.5 receiving yards. Amon-Ra St. is the focal point of this Detroit Lions offense. Again, I think this might be a tit-for-tat, rock'em sock'em robots, high-scoring matchup between the Bucs and the Lions, and I love Amon-Ra St. here in this matchup. At number 2, we got Christian McCaffrey over 91.5 rushing yards versus the Green Bay Packers at home in Santa Clara, -115 on DK, and the same number is on Underdog. So Christian McCaffrey had a down game last time out up against the Commanders in Washington. If you're just a stat sheet watcher, right? If you're just someone that looks at the stats and doesn't put anything into context, which a lot of people do, you'll be like, oh, McCaffrey had a down game. Well, actually, that was just due to the fact that around halfway through the game, he exited with a calf injury. But all of the news that I'm reading as of right now is implying that Christian McCaffrey is perfectly fine. So McCaffrey will be back like normal up against the Packers defense. And over the last 5 games, prior to the last game against the Commanders, where again, he only played half the game, he went over 91.5 rushing yards in every single game. In all 5 of those games, he eclipsed 91.5 rushing yards. Now, this is another scenario where, the Buccaneers defense played well against the Eagles. The Packers defense plays well against Dak and the Cowboys, right? They look great, outside of garbage time, where we ended up seeing Mr. Dak Prescott kind of turn things on to overdrive, right? The Packers defense looks good in that game, but, and this is a big but, shout out Mia Malkova, this is a Packers defense that has been shockingly bad for a majority of the season. I even said this last week when we talked about CeeDee Lamb's over receiving yard prop that I really liked, and that hit, is that this is a Packers defense. Now, again, they played great last week, right? They figured things out. They were able to stop Dak Prescott. But this is a defense that let Bryce Young look like Patrick fucking Mahomes. So again, while the Packers defense might have had that one push of greatness up against that Dallas Cowboys offense last week, I just don't think that they have the recipe of sugar, spice, and everything nice like the fucking Powerpuff Girls to stop the 49ers offense. I think McCaffrey runs free in this game, and I expect him to go nuclear. At number 3, we got Josh Allen over half an interception versus the Kansas City Chiefs. The line is set at -105 on DraftKings, and I am just salivating thinking about getting it at -105. The same numbers available on Underdog as well. Against the Steelers last week, Josh Allen looked solid. You might even say Josh Allen was great. Shout out Tony the Tiger, right? 21 of 30 for 203 yards and 3 passing touchdowns, as well as 8 carries for 74 yards and a rushing touchdown. There's a lot of debate on Twitter on if Josh Allen pulled a fake slide, if Josh Allen was just trying to juke when he did that. I don't know. Steelers defense looked fucking clueless, right? And he hit the Steelers defense with the 619 Rey Mysterio. 4 combined touchdowns in that game. Again, 203 passing yards, 74 rushing yards, and 4 total touchdowns. No interceptions, right? But that wasn't necessarily the same Steelers defense that we've come accustomed to, because not having TJ Watt is very, very bad for the Pittsburgh Steelers. During the regular season, Josh Allen threw at least 1 interception in 14 of 17 games. So there was only 3 games in which Josh Allen didn't turn the ball over, including 1 game up against the Chiefs where he threw an interception. Now, I will note that this game being in Buffalo could play a factor into why the Buffalo Bills come out of there with a W, right? While they beat up on maybe what some might call their father, the Kansas City Chiefs, right? So, I'm not going to say that the Bills can't win this game, and I'm not going to say that Josh Allen is going to look like dog shit in this game. I'm not going to say that. But I just do believe that Josh Allen is good for a turnover in a majority of games. Josh Allen is good for throwing some stupid interception that there was no reason to throw, right? Where he's kind of seeing ghosts like his name is Sam Darnold, and he throws the ball right to the defense. The Chiefs defense also playing very, very good makes me really believe that the Chiefs defense is going to be able to get at least 1 pick off of Josh Allen. Again, this is a Chiefs team that in prior years, they're getting backpack like Dora, right? They're getting carried by the offense. Patrick Mahomes put the team on his back. Darren Sharper holding my dick, right? That's what he was doing. But now, not like Mahomes looks like crap or something, but now the defense is playing a huge factor. And I think that Josh Allen gets at least 1 interception or throws at least 1 interception in this game. Moving now to best bet number 4, we got Dalton Schultz over 37.5 receiving yards versus the Baltimore Ravens in Baltimore. Currently set at -110 on DraftKings. If you guys have enjoyed today's video thus far, please make sure that you hit that subscribe button down below. And while you're down there, whether you are new to the channel or not, please make sure that you do leave a like on today's video. It would help me out a ton. So over the last 5 games, Schultz has went over 37.5 receiving yards in 3 of those games, with last week's blowout, with last week's back shots being dealt out by CJ Stroud in a game where they dominated the Browns. He missed the yards prop by just a yard. He had 37 yards in that game. Now, what is making me come to the conclusion that I really believe that Dalton Schultz will be able to get 38 plus yards in this spot is because of the fact that the Texans wide receiver core is decimated like your butthole after you eat some Taco Bell, right? The Texans have now placed Noah Brown on season-ending IR. You know, they don't have a lot of weapons outside of Nico Collins. Sure, they have guys like Robert Woods and John Mechie, but that is a far cry, right? Those are guys that can't even hold the jock straps of players like Hank Dell, who we lost a couple of weeks ago, and even Noah Brown. Now, to me, it just really feels like this is a game where Schultz will be seeing more targets. I think up against the Ravens, they might not be able to pull the rabbit out the hat, right, and just heave the ball a gazillion yards to Nico Collins, right? CJ Stroud might have to take what's in front of him, take the easy shots instead of making buffoon-level plays that are going to take the Texans out of this one. And I think that big safety net is big man Dalton Schultz. So with him seeing more targets here, I know the Ravens defense is great and all. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like the Ravens defense is god-awful by any means. I'm not going to sit here and say that, but I do think with the limited amount of other weapons around Dalton Schultz, with the Ravens defense trying to take away the big play from Nico Collins, I think we're going to see a lot of Dalton Schultz in this game, and I think he can go over that 37.5 yards mark, and I'm betting him over 37.5 yards in Baltimore. Obviously, I hope this game isn't negative a zillion degrees so that CJ Stroud can cook as per usual. Before we get on into the final best bet of the divisional round weekend, I would like to give you guys a quick word from our friends and our sponsor over at Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Fantasy is the best place to play NFL Pick'em in the whole entire universe, and today, Underdog Fantasy has a great offer for you guys that we'll be talking about in just a couple of seconds. But first, I want to explain how the Underdog Pick'em works. So you got to pick a minimum of 2 players from at least 2 different teams. So to start with a Lion here, we're going to go with Amon-Ra St. Brown higher than 90.5 receiving yards. We talked about how we liked him higher than 91.5 receiving yards, so obviously we like him higher than 90.5 receiving yards, and then we are going to scroll down to the Buffalo Bills game here. We're going to go with Josh Allen higher than half an interception. Now, if both of these hit, we'll get 3 times our entry fee. If you do 3 picks, it's 6 times, 4 picks is 10 times, and 5 picks is 20 times your entry fee. Obviously, all of the picks have to hit. If you live in one of the states on your screen right now and use promo code Notorious, you will get a first match deposit bonus of up to $100. So you deposit 100, they give additional 150, additional 50, 25, and additional 25. The minimum deposit on Underdog Fantasy is $10. If you have a gambling problem, please make sure that you call 1-800-GAMBLER. Back on into things here, we move to the final best bet of divisional round weekend, and we got the Kansas City Chiefs plus 2.5 at the Buffalo Bills plus 100 on DraftKings. Now, I would definitely prefer that the line was 3, right? I'm not super thrilled that it's 2.5. If you can get it at 3 and it's minus 110, minus 120, honestly, I would prefer that. But as of right now, it's sitting at plus 2.5, so I'm not going to sit here and delay this video till tomorrow, because what happens if it moves to just plus 2, right? And I'm not getting that half a point, the captain hook, right? And then I get fucked in the ass by that, right? And I end up, instead of winning my bet, maybe I end up just pushing, and that would suck. So plus 2.5, I do think that the Chiefs are going to win this game straight up. I would just rather have the points in case things go wrong, right? It's always good to have the points. While the Chiefs didn't look great offensively against the Dolphins, right? There was a couple of miscommunication plays, right? The score could have easily been 30 plus for the Chiefs, where it didn't finish that way. But the reason why I really like the Chiefs in this game is because of that defense, right? The defense that we just talked about turning Josh Allen over. They already did that once this season, the first time these two teams played. Now, maybe the fact that Josh Allen hasn't been super effective up against the Kansas City Chiefs is because the game's always an Arrowhead in the playoffs, right? And maybe the Kansas City Chiefs just miraculously can't play an away game in the playoffs, but I don't think that will be the case. I think this is going to be a very close, hard-fought game. And again, while I fully understand that the Kansas City Chiefs offense has looked at very many times this season completely limp dick, right? Like they need a Viagra Cialis, something like that. But the Bills defense is drastically beat up, right? The Bills were a team, it's like, oh my gosh, how are they so healthy in the playoffs, right? And then they got hit by the injury bug up against the Steelers. And I think if this was a fully healthy Bills team, I might be sitting here singing the gospel the other way defensively, right? But that is not how the game is going. It's not Madden. You can't turn the injuries off. So I just really don't think that the Bills cover in this spot unless Josh Allen puts a cape on, right? Turns into a superhero, puts the team on his back. And while that is possible, I think up against this Chiefs defense that had Mike McDaniel, Tua Tagovailoa, literally in a mental pretzel, I think Josh Allen is going to make too many mistakes. And I think that the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes are going to make him pay. So I think the Chiefs cover +2.5 again. I would be looking for that +3 number, though, even if I gotta eat some more juice. So thank you guys all so much for watching. If you did end up enjoying today's video, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. And whether you are new to the channel or not, make sure you guys hit that like button down below. I love you guys a ton. Let's hopefully eat some W's during this divisional round weekend. And let me know your prediction down below. Who's winning? The Kansas City Chiefs or the Buffalo Bills? Love you guys. As always, have a great one. And as always, good boy.